very briefly, but they still nonetheless talked about it, which is cool. So who are these people? Well, you, I'm sure, know Todd Howard. Angela Browder, she is currently the studio director, but actually came into the studio, I believe, with Fallout 3 as a producer. So she's an OG, has been around for ages, has worked on all of these games, Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4, of course, Fallout 76, Starfield, all of those. So she's been around the block. Very, very experienced. Todd is Todd, and Emil Pagliarulo is the studio design director. He also, on my channel, probably doesn't need much of an introduction, but he is basically Todd's right-hand man. You know, on stream just yesterday, I guess when I'm recording this, somebody asked, Luke, do you think Todd has trained a successor? Do you think he has somebody lined up to take over when he retires? And I was like, I don't know. I guess if there's anybody, it's probably Emil. And bro, the chat melted down. Because Emil, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I think he genuinely would be a fun guy to get a beer with and go sing karaoke with. But I think that he has gotten a lot of flack from many corners of the internet. A lot of people blame him for the writing quality degradation at BGS over the years. And they pair it with a sort of keynote speech that he did years ago where he basically expressed a sort of contempt for his own audience. The phrase he used was, let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, Emil Pagliarulo's speech is like the top search thing. But the phrase that he used was that you can write the next great American novel, and players will make paper airplanes out of it, which is effectively an excuse to just never bother writing a good story because people are just going to make paper airplanes out of it. They're not even going to engage with it. They'll spend too much time building forts and stuff. Let's just this.
So we always want to write the great American novel, right? Fallout 3, we'll this big epic thing with your father. We'll get Liam Neeson to voice the role of the father, and so we always want to tell a huge story, and like the great American novel, we want to be, let's be the Great Gatsby, and let's be Moby Dick, or let's be the Scarlet Letter. And there's an inherent problem with that, right? These are all amazing works of fiction, but they're all non-interactive, right? So when you're writing a story for a video game, you always have to keep the player in mind, right? And so what happens we're writing our great American novel. This is the process. This is what happens at Bethesda when you write the main story of a game, and even some of the smaller stories. So let's say, okay, we're going to write the great American novel. It's going to be this thick, and on every page will be written comedy and tragedy, and it'll be wonderful. Okay. It'll be amazing.
This sounds great, right? You write a great story.
And you're going to give this book, this great American novel, to the player. And what are they going to do with it? They're going to rip out every page and make paper airplanes out of them. And they're going to throw them around the room. And they're never going to see your story. Because the story is there, right? But they are going to spend 30 hours making shacks. Okay? They're going to spend 20 hours looking for bobbleheads. Okay? But that's okay. We know that going in. That's the jagged pill that we swallow when we do this. Because again, great games are played, not made, and a story in a video game is an interactive thing.
I've listened to this whole speech many times, and I still am utterly confused by it. But I think what it really reflects is sort of I think it says a lot about how, at least Emil views the players of BGS games, where it's like, why bother writing the next great American novel as the story of our game when people are just gonna, like, some players are just not even gonna engage with it. They're gonna play the game on mute, skip past all the dialogue, and just hunt bobbleheads. So why bother? That's basically the attitude. It's like, so many of our players they have too much ADHD, they're too stupid or whatever to appreciate the story, so why bother? And I find that so insane. Like, especially, bear in mind, this is a studio that makes, allegedly, RPGs. The whole point of an RPG is that you can make choices that have consequences. As part of that, there are choices you'll make that shut certain doors. Like in Fallout New Vegas, which most people appreciate more than Bethesda's Fallout games, you can just kill any NPC and it cuts off entire quest lines. So, you walk in to Caesar's camp and you kill Caesar somehow and get out alive. In the first 5 hours of the game or 10 hours of the game, you like just cannot pursue those endings that I'm sure were carefully written. There was a lot of effort put behind those endings. And, you know, if you go with the Caesar's path of the endings, you don't get access to any of that now because you basically tore out that page and made a paper airplane with it. But that's okay. That doesn't mean you don't put effort into what's on the pages, you know, because other players will come and will read that section and won't make a paper airplane out of it. Like, that's kind of the whole point of sandbox games with player agency and RPG. Like, it's so insane to me that you would not try, you know, that you would look at that and just be like, well, what's the point? And my brother Jacob, like I said, he sent me this article that we will finish reading in a moment. And what he said was, let's see, once they became the studio that brought you Skyrim, I think Emil's head got a bit big and he thought he could just half-ass it and justify it by saying, quote, he understands players are going to crumple up his novel and turn it into paper airplanes, end quote. He thinks he's too smart to do smart things because people won't understand it because they're all stupid, which in turn is pretty effing stupid. I think, honestly, that sums it up pretty well. But it's that sort of like, you guys wouldn't even understand. It's literally like, you know, what's the movie? Step Brothers, when Will Ferrell's character is like talking the whole movie about how amazing of a singer he is and how great he is at music and performing and everything. And he refuses to sing because people just couldn't handle it. You know, it's no, you just, I can't. And it's literally, I totally could write the next great American novel. Okay, do it. Nah, because like people wouldn't even read it. I'm telling you right now, I'll read it. I'll read the whole thing. No, I'm just busy. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay. So anyway, what did they say about the current status of Elder Scrolls 6? Well, Angela Browder said the following: it's wonderful to be back in this Elder Scrolls universe. As the internet likes to tell us, it's been a while. Yes, it has. It's been 7 years since you guys revealed the game with a trailer, and you still seemingly have nothing left to show us, like nothing new, which is insane. But that's where we are. And you'll notice this through all of these statements, and it's really been like BGS's modus operandi for the last 3 years or so has been lower expectations when it comes to timelines. Like, stretch it out, tell people to wait, be patient. We don't move fast. We do long pre-production. Like, stress that so people don't get their hopes up too much. And I think this is partially because there's some like BGS focused channels on YouTube, especially, that have been straight up, it's pure hopium, claiming that like Elder Scrolls 6 is coming 2026 confirmed. There was one page I saw that was claiming it was going to be revealed and shadow dropped at the Game Awards, which is insane. And so I think that's what they're mainly addressing here by constantly trying to be like, calm down, it's not coming anytime soon. So they go on. Angela says, and the industry and the hardware and all of this have made such huge leaps and bounds since the last time we made one of these. Like, I'm actively excited about what's in front of us. And this is true. Skyrim was in 2011, running on 360 PS3 hardware, circa 2006. The next game will probably realistically launch in 2028. That's my prediction. Even if it's announced for 2027, you got to remember Starfield was basically delayed 2 years. Phil Spencer has communicated that the original launch date that they were targeting was like 2021, and then they delayed it, of course, 2 years after that. So even if it's announced for 2027, I would be shocked if it's not delayed. But anyway, going on beyond that, it's like by the time it launches in 2028, that will put it a solid, in terms of hardware, that's like next gen hardware, that puts it like 22 years gap between the hardware that they're using. It's fair to point out maybe it's going to be a cross-generational title since it's running on the same toolkit that Starfield used. Todd's already said that it's using the Creation Engine 2, so they're not even going to bother slapping a 3 on it. It's the same tool set they used for Starfield. And so you could argue maybe it's going to be cross-gen, and so it's running on 2020 hardware, but still, that's crazy. I mean, that's still like a 14-year gap in terms of hardware that they're using, and that's significant. So it should be a generational, not just leap, like a generational marathon, difference. It really should be. So I hope to see it be a big leap. What are they going to do that they could only dream of in Skyrim days? As you can see, I'm actively excited about what's going on in front of us because the opportunities, the hardware, the rendering, and all of this stuff the possibilities are crazy. I will be honest, for me, sometimes I see things are happening and I go, Angela from Skyrim days could never have envisioned seeing this like this now. And that is a cool thing to be a part of. And it's a thing I hope that when the day comes that our fans play it, that they, especially those of them who have been lifers with our brands, can really see how far it's come. You can see that right now. You load up the original Oblivion and you load up the remaster of Oblivion, and you can see how far it's all come. What's ironic is that the remaster of Oblivion looks significantly overhauled and better, specifically because it is running in Unreal Engine. My understanding is that it's literally like the same game, like it's the exact same game. If you just imagine like the game is this nest of code and stuff, okay? It's the same game, but it's underneath an Unreal Engine 5 blanket. So when you look at it, it looks way better, but it's still the clunky monstrosity that Oblivion was and everybody knows and loves. But it's basically just an Unreal Engine wrapper on the outside of it, running all of the original Gamebryo engine code underneath, which is legitimately a very cool way to do a remaster. But I think a lot of those improvements that Angela's referencing are literally Unreal Engine things and graphical features that are not present in Creation Engine. And it was also done by a separate studio, by Virtuos, which also kind of makes it funny. Like, I get the point. I get what she's saying. Like, oh, you got to appreciate that generationally, like, the hardware's improved and the tech's improved. Yes, but I think that's precisely the point, is that the tech's improved, but, you know, BGS probably has not improved to that same degree. But yeah, anyway, maybe I'm being extra pedantic. And you can see how far it's come. So to me, The Elder Scrolls 6 is this endless set of possibilities that is really, really exciting as a developer, but really, really exciting as someone who really likes to think about how far everything has come in our industry. It's going to be dope. It is dope. Laughs. End quote. And I do hope it will be dope, Angela. I do hope it is dope, indeed. And as studio director, I'm sure she's very involved in like the day-to-day and seeing the game progress and stuff. I'm glad she's excited about it. But, you know, I think you're probably seeing it in the comment section of this video and in many others. Like, the expectations for this are so stupid high, dude. Like, they're crazy. It's crazy high. I don't honestly know how they're going to possibly live up to those expectations, but we'll see. Todd said, you can tell he's very media trained. He said, quote, "It's progressing really well. The majority of the studio is on Elder Scrolls 6, but I'll say this, we always overlap. So we're very used to overlapping development, and we have long pre-productions on things so that we feel good about them. It's a process. We all wish it went a little bit faster or a lot faster, but it's a process that we want to get right." And there's a couple of tidbits in here. One, he's stressing timelines lower your expectations in terms of how quickly we move. And two, I think it's important to remember that this whole interview is in the context of Fallout. So I think they were probably talking to him about Fallout 5, what they're doing with the show, with 76 and all that. And then they interjected this question about, well, how's Elder Scrolls going? And that's why he says, listen, we always overlap. So we're doing Elder Scrolls, but we're also working on what comes after that and doing early pre-production on other stuff. It does remind me of one interview tidbit, which I've referenced a few times, and maybe I am just reading way too much into this. That's very, very possible. But this interview still just sits weird with me. Like, it just is odd. It was posted all the way back in June of 2023, okay? And it's largely been forgotten since it's pre-Starfield, and then Starfield happened and all of that played out. But I find this really weird, what happens. And basically the context is that the head editor of, or executive editor, whatever the title is, of IGN is interviewing Todd and is asking him questions and specifically prompts him on, you're doing Elder Scrolls and you already said that you're doing Fallout 5 after that. And then Todd interjects and says, I just want to clarify. I just meant it's coming at some time after that in the future, which again, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's such a weird statement if it is in fact coming after that. Like, why would you feel the need to clarify that? To me, it makes it feel like maybe there's something between Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout, but I'll let, you know, him actually explain it.
And now you've had this 8-year Starfield thing in here. You've already committed to Elder Scrolls 6 is the next thing. You said it's in pre-production. And then last year when we talked, You said, yep, Fallout 5, I want to do that. That'll be next.
That was more of like a general, it will clearly be after Elder Scrolls 6 at some point.
Why would he feel the need to clarify that? Now, maybe he's being coy and he's just like, of course it's next. Maybe. But is this also part of the broader sort of lowering of expectations in timelines where it's like, we know you all want Fallout 4, but we gave you Fallout 76. Shut up and play that. And we're going to do Starfield 76 after Elder Scrolls 6, and we're going to do that, and everybody's going to love it, and it's going to be great because you all love Starfield, right? Like, that very well could be what's happening here. Otherwise, this is just so weird to me. Why would he feel the need to clarify?
We talked. You said, yep, Fallout 5, I want to do that. That'll be next.
That was more of like a general, it will clearly be after Elder Scrolls 6 at some point.
Okay,
That's
well,
like, let me clarify that one.
all right, go ahead.
At some point in the future.
But so
At some point in the future, I don't know. Maybe he's playing with him. I don't know. It's still weird. All these years later, I mean 2. It's just weird. It's weird in my brain. So make of that what you will. Let me know in the comments what you think he meant, if he actually is going to do something in between or not. As for Emil's portion of this, Emil, you know, he has thoughts. This is funny considering that he's also somebody that does a lot of the writing. He was like the senior writer on Fallout 4. Like he's like one of their writers. This is very disjointed for being in charge of writing. What he said was, I can say it's going. I'm guessing they asked him, how's Elder Scrolls 6 going? It's going. It's funny because the time pressure that players put on us, we don't put on ourselves. Again, it's kind of weird. Like, players keep asking us about it. Up here, Angela was like, the internet likes to tell us. It's been a while. It's almost this like rolling your eyes like, God, can you guys stop asking about it? Bro, you guys are the ones that announced it 7 years ago and still have nothing to show for it. Okay. Like, I feel like it's fair for the fan base to be like, anything, you know, it's just weird. He goes on, and I know that can be, he goes on, we don't put that on ourselves, meaning the time pressure and constraints. They just kind of take their time and do whatever they need to do based on how they're feeling. And I know that can be frustrating for players who are dying to play a game, but games take a long time and games get pushed all the time. GTA just got pushed back again, which was the smartest thing they could do because of the size, a game the size of these games, take not just a long time to make, but a long time to spit and polish and iron out bugs. And so that kind of suggests that part of the reason Elder Scrolls is taking so long is because they need extra time to spit and polish and iron out bugs. Like, bro, I understand what you're saying, and I agree. It takes time to polish. I agree. We're on the same page. But I'm gonna be real. Keep it 100. BGS, anybody involved with BGS, talking about bug fixing is wild. Okay, they did a next gen update for Fallout 4 that broke it, and it took them over a year and a half to do a patch to try and fix it. And that patch broke a bunch of other things, including all the mods that modders had developed to try and fix things. And ultimately, the way that they fixed a lot of the bugs that they introduced with the initial next gen update was by rolling back the next gen update in certain portions of the game, which is also freaking hilarious. So I just, I agree with the message, but I think that maybe BGS is not the messenger to deliver this. Continuing. And so what do fans really want? Do they want a game that comes out before it should and doesn't meet their expectations? Or do they want the turkey that's in the oven for long enough to be delicious when it finally comes out the oven, I'm sorry. When Jacob was explaining this whole thing to me, it was really funny because he's like explaining what Emil said. It's like, what do you mean? He just randomly gets into talking about a turkey out of nowhere. Like, he sets up an analogy, but doesn't, he uses an analogy, but doesn't set it up. Like, if he had said, do you want the undercooked turkey that's raw, doesn't taste right, but it got out fast enough? Or do you want to maybe sit at the dinner table for longer, which is frustrating, but get a turkey that's delicious? Like, that would make sense. But instead, it's just like, do you want a game that shows up before it's ready, it doesn't meet your expectations? Or do you want a turkey? It's just, I'm sorry, I just found it funny. That's what I think people are going to want. So we're going to take our time, and as long as it needs to be great, which I can understand and sympathize with. I think the point is, from the fans' perspective and the player's perspective, is not that you should rush it. The point is that BGS is incredibly inefficient, like incredibly so. They take so long to do so little, and the things that they do achieve, even still, are shockingly mediocre or just break stuff. That's the frustration ultimately, is that you announced Elder Scrolls 6, 7 years ago, you still have basically nothing to show for it except for warnings that it's going to take a long time. And so people are just like, okay, well then, like, what's the point? What are we doing? And paired with all the other stuff going on with Bethesda properties like Fallout 5 taking 20 years to make, that sounds like an exaggeration. It's not. It's probably coming in like early to mid 2030s. So 20 years plus or minus 2. Beyond that, it's also frustration over the quality of the work. Things like the first expansion for Starfield, which was so lackluster, it system shocked everybody. Even the most hardcore Bethesda fanboy channels were like, I can't defend this, bro. It was literally hilarious. Back when Shattered Space dropped, we played it. And I was like starting playing it off stream because I was gonna boot into it on stream the next day and like stream the late portions of the DLC to show people it and show what late game DLC stuff looked like. And dude, I'm not joking. I accidentally finished it because it was all of like 4.5, 5 hours long of actual like quest content. And then it was like totally mediocre stuff too. Like I accidentally finished it. I thought I was starting like act 2 of the DLC, but then it was over. And I tweeted that out and I got flooded with all the BGS like crazy fanboys that were so upset that I was saying I actually finished it and it like kind of sucks. And I'm not joking. Like as the night went on, you could tell that those same fanboys were finishing the DLC, coming to the same conclusion because they then went and started deleting their replies to my tweet. You know, when I was like, it's super short and kind of lame. And then they replied, no, it's not. You rushed through it. No, it's actually awesome. You just have to get to the good part later in the DLC. And then they finished it and they start deleting those posts because they're like, okay, yeah, it kind of is. It was freaking hilarious, but it happened across the board. Nobody could really defend it because it took them a year to make and was sucky. It just was not good. It just was not good. Sorry, my headphones are dying. If you can hear beeping, that's why. So overall, I don't think it's a frustration with how long games take. I don't think people are saying you should rush it. I think that is a false framing of this whole thing. Like it's a straw man. He's like, you know, setting up something that's easier to argue against because nobody's saying you should rush the game. What people are saying is that you should fix the efficiency and studio problems that are causing your games to take way longer than they should for what people are getting. You know, the idea that Starfield took, like, including pre-production, a decade is crazy. It's crazy. It's a big game, but it's mainly big because of procedural stuff, you know? It's wild, especially because you can look at what other studios are capable of. Like, Obsidian put out 2 games in Avowed, The Outer Worlds, and I guess you could say they launched Grounded 2 as well. So 3. They put out those games in a single calendar year, including with like extra DLC updates and free updates and improvements. And BGS spent an entire year working on the second expansion of Starfield and the PS5 port, and there's just nothing. They just ghosted the community and have like nothing to say about it. It's wild, especially when you pair with it like some of the other stuff. I tweeted this out. Let me see if I can pull it up fast, which just like kind of shocked me. But this was the post back in March of this year, where they said, we're going to share with you a lot of exciting updates and news that we have on the game. We're doing lots of work and we have lots of exciting updates, lots of exciting things for Starfield in 2025. And then they just did nothing, said nothing. Everyone started thinking they abandoned the game. They still are saying nothing and it's just gone silent. And, you know, people are saying, oh, well, they're pushing it to 2026 because they had other things launch at the end of this year. Okay, like you knew COD was coming, but okay, whatever. Maybe they did. Like either way, it was certainly delayed because they've not said that it's canceled. But it's wild that even now, there's still been no clarification or anything. This is supposedly one of their big 3 pillars of games. Like they say, are 3 big franchises: Starfield, Elder Scrolls, and Fallout. They view them on the same level. That's what they at least publicly say, which is insane considering that they basically have just left Starfield in the backyard during a blizzard and they're like, oh, it'll be fine. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's why people are frustrated, Emil. It's not just because people are like wanting you to rush the game. Nobody's saying that. They're saying that you shouldn't rush the game, but the amount of time it's taken you to produce nothing at this point is crazy. You announced it 7 years ago and you still have nothing to show. is wild. That's what people are saying. Like, not even a trailer or development updates or anything. It's also paired with discussions around Fallout, which I'm sure was also the context of this interview. The fact that they're not going to have a Fallout 5 until the 2030s at the very soonest, like realistically probably 2033, 2034. That's insane. That's crazy and should be unacceptable. But here we are. And it's also, I'll just leave with this, in terms of timelines and everything. Back in the day, Fallout 3 launched in 2008. And when they went to ZeniMax, the overlords of BGS at the time, the owners, like ZeniMax apparently found out that it was going to probably be until 2014 or 15 before they got another Fallout game. And they said, that's ridiculous. We just bought the rights to the franchise. Fallout 3 is popping off. What do you mean we're going to have like 7 years, 6 or 7 years without another game? Like, are you crazy? So they went to a little studio called Obsidian and offered them the chance to make a spin-off game within 18 months. And they killed it, and we got Fallout New Vegas as a result of it. But the idea of going without a Fallout game, a main single-player Fallout game, for 7 years was so crazy to them that they went actively found a small team that was hungry and wanted to do something crazy, like pumping out a game like that in 18 months. And they did it. And now we're just supposed to accept that it's going to be 20 years between games because after all, they have Fallout 76. And that's really the defense. It's like, well, if you're upset about it, I get it, but go play Fallout 76. Go play it. Stop complaining. And we all know it's because that has an in-game store. They make a whole hell of a lot more money off of Fallout 76 than they do off of, attempts to make big single-player games with how expensive those are. So, go play Fallout 76. It's frustrating. But either way, this was an interesting little tidbit. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I think it's interesting. They basically say nothing, but I think in how little they say, you can read a lot, read a lot into it. And I think it also, there's just these little bitty tidbits where I think you get a little glimpse of what goes on and how they talk about things behind closed doors, where it's just fundamental misunderstandings of what do fans really want? Not for you to rush it. Nobody claimed that. Nobody's saying that. They're just saying it's insane. It takes you so long to do mediocre work. That's what people are saying. Okay. So, and I'm saying this out of a place of love. Okay. People ask me, Luke, why do you talk about BGS so much? It's because I'm a fan, dumbass. Like, I want these games to be great. I grew up playing Fallout and Elder Scrolls. I want these games to be Baldur's Gate levels of success and popularity. I want them to be that crazy good again, like they used to be. But I don't think coddling them does anything. I don't think going to a hug box on social media and just sticking your fingers in your ears is going to do anything. I think you got to call it out, hold their feet to the fire, praise them when they do something good, and critique them when they do something bad. And hopefully they'll rise to the challenge and impress you. And, maybe they will. It's possible. Next year, I've heard rumblings of what the Starfield DLC and updates are going to be for next year, paired with the PS5 update. Once I get more verified sources of what it's going to be like, maybe we'll talk about it on stream and I'll break the news. But from what I've heard, they're trying some bold things. We'll see if they can actually deliver on it. But if they are able to do some of the stuff allegedly they're trying to do, it could seriously help Starfield maybe have a little bit of a rejuvenation. But I don't blame people for having low expectations at this point. But we'll leave it there. It's dinner time. I'm going to go eat. Much love to all of you guys. Thanks for chilling with me. You guys are awesome. And I will see you in the next segment when my power is back. Much love. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. He took my thing.